YouTube, what the crap's going on? HeirofCarthage here, back on Total War Warhammer. We're going to do a quick battle replay. This one is going to be a battle on the Lost Vault of King Lun. Where I took a greenskin army that is actually similar to one that I lost to a while back, though not exactly the same. I don't remember exactly what was brought in that army. I do remember the Spider Riders and the Goblin Archers I copied. Let me just briefly put it into slow motion so you all can get a feel for what my goal was here. So 3 Spider Riders and Morgrim's Mangery Marauders, and the Spider Riders are because they poison units and it makes it harder for those units to chase them down. They are a bit more expensive than Gobbo Wolf Riders, albeit slower. I got 2 Boar Boy Biggins. These guys are just good at anti-cavalry or anti-large. And then the Savage Orcs, these guys have immune to psychology as long as they're, I mean, it just says they're immune to psychology. And some people were thinking that it's an effect that is just due to their frenzy, and it's not. Well, I mean, it could be. Maybe this disappears if this frenzy goes off, I suppose, because frenzy's in place. It gives me immune to psychology. I don't know, but when they're immune to psychology like that, it makes me less fearsome from the vampires. Now, I'll tell you what the vampires can do. They can give the greenskins living fits, which would be an all-ethereal unit army, but this army is meant to counter your more typical vampire army, which is going to be something like Crypt Horrors, maybe a Flying Vampire Lord, and a little bit of Blood Knights, and that's exactly what my opponents brought. So Blood Knights, Vlad von Karstein, typical Graveguard line, and a couple of Horrors with the White King. There's 1 Crypt Ghoul on either flank too, maybe hoping for some fast moving. And then my army is 1 Black Orc, because again, a little bit of armor piercing in the center and a little sturdier. But then I've got 1 Savage Orc Biggin on the other side of the Black Orc, 1 Savage Orc on either flank, 2 Savage Orcs in the back, 1 Gobbo Spearman. And then I've got Azhag the Slaughterer on Skull Muncha, rocking Fate of Buna, and Spirit Leech. My opponent did bring a Black Coach, which is an interesting choice. Not really sure I agree with it entirely here. So you're going to see me target his Crypt Horrors right off the bat. And I'm going to do some general purpose, like, kind of harassment here. He brings up his Blood Knights early, and they're a little bit unsupported, so I pop a Fate of Buna on him because I'm either trying to tempt him to use some healing or hoping to get an opportunity to take these guys out early. So the Fate of Buna is going to do a ton of damage to the Blood Knights. It's a great spell, but it's very expensive. I think it costs 16 mana to use it, so you're going to pay dearly for it. Savage Orcs will do extremely good versus just kind of run-of-the-mill vampire infantry. And here, after being hit by a Fate of Buna and Azhag, the Boar Boys will actually combine against the Blood Knights for hopefully a quick knockout here, or at least force Vlad to use a bunch of his magic and healing. The Black Orcs will hold up the center with some support of Gobbo Spears, and my Savage Orcs charge on all the flanks, and they're going to do intense damage to the lightly armored vampire infantry on the flanks. The Graveguard will be a little bit tougher to chew through, and the White King gets bogged down on a bunch of Savage Orcs. You can see 1 Crypt Horror unit already eliminated from my bows, so the bows are serving their purpose, and Vlad can't get close enough to put zombies back here on top of these errors. And even if there was a Flying Vampire Lord, that's where Azhag, supported by the archers, can actually do something about it with Spirit Leech, and he actually poisons as well. So Azhag's going to get into the back of these Graveguard. The Blood Knights have been completely beaten, and now I'm just using some boars on the flank, and then I brought in Azhag and used the Wah. So I'm going to be dishing intense damage now, or extreme damage, I guess, on this side. My opponent tries to raise some zombies to stop my Spider Riders, but Spider Riders are quick, and again, behind my lines is where he's struggling, though he does break through with these Crypt Ghouls. They break my Savage Orcs, and they are pretty quick. You can see them hunting them down, and they're going to go for my archers, so I turn all my bow fire onto the Crypt Ghouls, and I run the 1 unit away, so if his Crypt Ghouls chase that unit, they'll get shot to death. He's going to change directions momentarily. He comes after the Rusty Heirs, so I'll fall back with them, and then turn to shoot with the others. So basically he gets caught in a trap until my Gobbo Spears are able to support. In the center, Azhag is attacking the Black Coach, and the other vampire units here attempting to do some damage. And it's going pretty well. You can see my Savage Orcs over here slicing their way, after having killed the Skeleton Warriors, now slicing their way through summoned zombies. And the Spider Riders and Wolf Riders are just parking themselves behind combat. You can see as he raises zombies, I can easily just move away, and his Graveguard get hit with the Fate of Buna. I don't remember if Fate of Buna is all that good against the Grave. It actually is working pretty darn well. Yeah, so it was very effective there. So the Graveguard is going to pull through to try and get to my archers. My archers are finishing off the Crypt Ghouls, and now this flank can collapse on the Vampire Center after we had a handy victory. over his weaker units, and Azhag supporting the Boar Boys to get to a quick victory over the Blood Knights, so that was one key unit taken off the battlefield. He's going to summon more zombies to get in the way of my units. It'll buy him time, but at this point, I don't know if it can save him. You can see that I'm pouring archer fire into the fight. Here comes the Boar Boys, and it is going to be a big-time fight. He puts a Curse of Years on me, which is fairly effective at rendering my units less useful. But at this point, he's losing quite badly. The Black Coach is under a considerable amount of fire. It is gotten a decent number of kills at 38, but probably not enough to pay for itself. It gains buffs as it stays in combat, but it is just being absolutely shredded by my archers. Morgur's Mangy Marauders are armor-piercing, but there's only 60 armor on a Black Coach anyway. So the Coach is now the Roach Coach. You can see my orcs closing in on Vladdy Daddy, who is right here in the fight, and he's losing support quickly. The flanks are getting wrapped up. There's some summoned zombies holding up a few of my units here, but really Vlad is kind of left by himself with a couple of crumbling Grave Guard to face off against the Boys. So in this case, it's going to end up being a pretty convincing victory. And this greenskin build here definitely has merit versus a standard vampire army. Bear in mind I said standard vampire army. I think if the vampires wanted to switch it up on you or called your bluff, like so for instance if you pick greenskins, typically it's not a faction that does great against the vampires because of their leadership woes. But as you can see, they can be made to do well, and it worked against me. It worked against this opponent here, but like I said, I would be quite careful. I think against a crafty opponent, they can call your bluff on this with this army pretty quick, and I think you could get in trouble. If they were to get a few direwolves involved, you'd have some trouble on your hands. And then if you just think about it in terms of infantry, if they brought a lot of ethereal units or something like that, you'd be in trouble. Ethereal units are very difficult for the greenskins to deal with. Like Banshees. Banshees can be a big problem. Cairn Wraiths, Hex Wraiths, all those can be a problem for the greenskins. They're easy to heal, and the greenskins don't have any magical damage other than Fate of Buna, which does work very good on those units. But, you know, it's limited. You can usually only get 2, maybe 3 Fate of Buna if you're really lucky in a battle, so there's only so much you can use it. But look at the Savage Orcs, the way they just crush zombies and skeleton warriors. Look at that, 238 kills on that one unit. The Black Orcs got a ton of kills up the center too, doing quite well. And then you can see just enough kills that these guys were annoying and effective, and then the Boar Boys both getting 67 kills. One unit did a little bit better than the other though in terms of health, and then Azhag able to be fairly effective when needed. So again, I think against this standard vampire army, this particular greenskin build or something similar to it, I like throwing a giant in here as well. Gives you less infantry, but a giant can hold down a lot of vampires, and it can force their Blood Knights into a position they don't want to be in to try and defeat the giant. So I don't know, just a thought. Like I said, the vampires definitely have answers to that type of thing. If you are a vampire player, how would you like to counter the greenskins with that build if you knew it was coming? Obviously, you don't always know what's coming, but it's a thought. What do you think? HeirofCarthage signing out for now. Thank you to MSI for sponsoring the channel. They're fantastic. If you want to win a free gaming computer, MSI is sponsoring part of the build, and I'm sponsoring part of it. And check the links in the description. You can see to where to go to enter that computer giveaway. It's on the 30th. If you want to subscribe, my logo's in the bottom right-hand corner. Click there. You'll be among the first to know when I have new content, live streams, and other events going on. HeirofCarthage signing out. I will see you all soon. You're fantastic. Thanks for watching.